Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and that handsome fellow there that you
It's
see,
me.
it,
It's
it-
me. Right.
it's J. Anthony Brown. J.
What up,
Anthony,
Sybil?
how are you?
I'm doing good today. Very good. Very
Good.
good.
Well, we have a very special show. I think that I'd like to think all of them are special, but this is we have a special guest, and that is the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi. And so we will talk to him.
Mayor
Shok-
Chokwe?
Shokwe,
Chokwe.
Shokwe
Chokwe. Right, right.
Lum-
Got it.
Lumumba.
Yeah.
You'll just call.
Chokwe. Got it.
You got it
I'm
exactly.
not saying it anymore. It's just mayor.
And we'll talk about what is going on in the city of Jackson, Mississippi. Also,
Yeah.
we have a new member of the What You Need to Know news staff joining us today. And so we will talk to Aprylete Russell. And J. Anthony Brown, let's get started with you. What's going on? What have you been up to? I know you just got back from Birmingham where you had
With
four
George
sold out
Wallace,
shows.
Myra J. I think George is still on stage. It was great. We had a great turnout at the Stardome. We sold out 4 shows. It was a lot of fun. Me, I was my nervous self.
Of course.
Myra killed it. George, like I said, would do an hour and a half before he brought me up. Ricky Smiley came by one night, and it was great. What I really liked about it is at the end of the show, we only did one show. All 3 of us came out, and we sat on the stool and talked about radio and stuff we did, and jokes we played on each
Nice.
other, which was really good. So we're gonna do it again.
I
Yes.
absolutely love it. If you all have not had a chance to see it, it is coming to a town near you. You've probably done a handful of towns by now, dates,
Yes, we
right?
do have a hand. Well, George he's the master. Wherever he says go, we go.
Okay.
We're following him. He writes the checks. They're not big, but they're consistent. So.
And George is about the business, Jay, isn't he?
Oh yeah, you don't get paid till the next week. It's like
You have to show what you're
you
good
gotta
for.
go get your money. You got
Follow him around, as it
yeah.
were.
Well, it's
Yeah.
better than some promoters who use the phrase "let me holler at you," which when you hear that, you know you're not gonna get your money. But anyway,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
great. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. So we'll look forward. I don't know if you know your next dates, but we will look forward to those as George.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. We moved the date. We're going to Memphis.
Okay. All right. All right. So, J. Anthony Brown, I'm sure you know you are a bit of a newsaholic as well as many of us. And so I want to welcome in a man who is now in the national headlines.
Yeah.
We welcome the Honorable Chokwe Lumumba, Mayor of Jackson, Mississippi.
Thank you for having me. It's good to speak with you both.
Welcome, Mr. Mayor.
How you doing, Mr. Mayor?
I'm doing well, doing well. Good to talk to y'all. Good to talk to y'all.
It's great to talk to you too. I just got one question to ask you. What's new?
Well, all things water all the time.
Water everywhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So fortunately, we have some good news to report, and that's that all of our residents do have water pressure restored. The next phase that is underway is to be able to, assure that the quality of water is one that we could lift the boil water notice. And so right now there are investigatory sampling taking place, or there is investigatory sampling taking place at the treatment facility. And that is kind of the prelude to when they will do the official sampling through the health department. If we get 2 consecutive days of good samples, then it allows us to lift the boil water notice. But let me lift this up to both of you and to the listening audience. We've been here before. We've been able to restore pressure. We've been here before where we've been able to lift boil water notices. But I've continued to reiterate for more than 2 years that it's still not a matter of if these systems will fail, but when these systems will fail. If we do not actually invest in the capital improvement that allows us to look our residents in the face and say that we have a sustainable, equitable, and dependable water treatment facility, then it will happen again. And Jackson's not the only city.
Absolutely. Jackson is one of a long line of cities that, as you say, if it hasn't happened, it will. So let me go back a little bit. Your city, the capital city of Mississippi, has been in the headlines due to a water crisis. The recent flooding of the Pearl River that created problems with treating the water at the O.B. Curtis water plant, right?
Correct.
And this followed this came after the boil water notice that was put in place in July 30th. So the water quality problem along with water pressure, and you've given us an update. So one of the things that struck me, and I know it struck you too, Jay, is that when the governor, Tate Reeves, came out and said, you can take showers, but don't open your mouth and keep your eyes closed, which it's frustrating to hear that, but knowing that at least there's water, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, well, first and foremost, we certainly all think that it's optimal to have well-treated water that we can say is safe for consumption, safe to brush your teeth with, and all of the things that we've come used to. But not to have water pressure at all registers another interruption or another degree of interruption and challenges in your quality of life, such as flushing the toilet, right? Mm-hmm. Such as taking that shower in the first place, or washing your clothes. All of those are additional challenges that take place when you don't have that. Mm-hmm. And so, we've been going it alone, as I said, for more than 2 years. And so, this is a cycle of humiliation. It is humiliating to not be able to open your mouth in the shower. It is humiliating to not be able to, just be able to deal with your child's baby formula or all the things, take your medication with you. And so, I think that it's time that we focus on how we restore dignity in our communities, and how everything that we do is aimed in that direction.
Can I ask a question? What seems to be the most repeating problem? Is it the pressure or the quality of the water, or is it both?
It's both. This is a plant that through the accumulation of challenges over the better part of 30 years or more, there's a multitude of different challenges. Today, or in the most, and when I say today, I mean the events of last week, were caused by the flood. And led to challenges in terms of the treating process. It led to challenges on our conventional side. Two Februaries ago, it was the membranes that were challenged by extreme cold temperatures when we had a freeze. It was raw water screens that froze over. It was raw water pumps that failed and still are in replacement. The various points of failure are too many to enumerate just on in our discussion right now. It's the functionality of the plant in the first place, whether it was ever functional or whether it was built kind of like it has been described as spaghetti, where systems that feed into the water are a long distance from the place that they have to go. And so the technicians that believe that they're feeding certain chemicals into the water, it's not actually entering the water at the time that they think that it's entering, because it's traveling halfway across the facility. And so there are so many different challenges. And so what we have to lift up is that our residents in Jackson are worthy of these repairs.
Right.
They're worthy of this investment. And everybody has to take onus and responsibility in making this happen.
What's your relationship with the governor of Mississippi, Tate Reeves?
Well, we don't share a lot of the same political ideology.
Yeah.
Yes, you are very much the progressive Democrat, and he is very much, seemingly, the old school Republican.
But let me be clear, though, that doesn't mean that work can't be done.
Right.
One of the things that I faced when I first came in office was the threat of the school district being taken over. The prior governor and I, who did not share my ideology at all as well, we were able to come to an agreement that better served our students and our parents, right? And so I believe that I respect a man whose principles I disagree with more so than a man who has no principles at all. So I would describe my relationship with the governor as largely being non-existent. I've been crying out for that relationship. I've been crying out for that communication so that we can decide on what we agree on and decide on what we disagree on.
Right.
I think that you can have operational unity where you come to a room focus more on common ends and objectives than any differences that you have.
Yeah. I suspect, Jay, that this might not have even reached the governor's desk for comment or anything, Mr. Mayor, had it not become a national story.
Yeah. I do believe that the national story has lifted up this challenge and created an urgency around getting it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And so our job, and this is why, having known that, or knowing that we have restored pressure in the past, we have lifted boil water notices in the past, then this is the moment that I become most fearful, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because once the news cameras go away, right? Once this is not in the media cycle as it is right now, then will the resolve still be there? Will the view that our residents are worthy still be there? And for the fix, not for the profit. We're not looking for solutions that profit somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for solutions that are in the best interest of our residents, not only in the intermediate time frame, but the long term.
Well, I've always go ahead, Sybil.
No, go ahead.
I always thought that Black problems in Black neighborhoods are somewhat considered to let them fester and let them, just explode, and then we'll come in and fix it and sell it for a higher price. Is there any sense that you feel that way? Because I've always thought that way when Black neighborhoods have problems, because the next 5 or 10 years you see that the problem is fixed and they start building high rises and condos there, and they ran us out of our own neighborhood. Is that what you think is happening there?
But just to piggyback on that, privatization is a part of the discussion, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you both are alluding to a playbook that has been used.
Yes. Thank you.
Time again, and I think that it will not serve my residents to not make that clear. And I've actually been lifting that up as well for some time. And so what they take advantage of is when people are suffering as they are in Jackson, then people are reaching for any solution that appears near. And sometimes that solution they may be reaching for creates a circumstance where they move from one state of misery to the next, right? And when you talk about privatization, let's talk about why that is harmful. Privatization is harmful because you have companies coming in order to exact a profit. They're not coming in to be benevolent, right? Coming in just because they want to see the system get better. They're trying to find out how they make money. And so when you have a city like Jackson, where affordability is already a challenge, right? The only way that they're able to make a return on their investment on the improvements that they're making is to raise the price. And so you price people out of being able to maintain the communities and the neighborhoods and the homes that they've lived in for generations, right?
Yeah.
If I go to state takeover, right? Well, first of all, we just described the relationship between the city of Jackson and the state of Mississippi, right? And so what leaves us confident that will change once they take over our utilities, right? Furthermore, as we've looked at challenges that the city has, one being staff augmentation and having the people there that can run the plan. That's something we have readily admitted. First of all, people have to have the information as to why that is a challenge. Jackson is one of 2 cities in the entire state of Mississippi that has a surface water treatment facility. That means that the bench of technicians and professionals is already short.
Right.
Secondly, in order to become one of these professionals, it takes 2 years with a college degree, right? It takes 6 years to become a Class A operator without a college degree. So you literally have to grow this over time, right? And so what we have looked at is not privatization, but we have looked at the potential contractual relationship of an operations and maintenance agreement where we, for a set price, hire a firm to augment that staff and to help us with the operations. So long as it's not a revenue split or something that raises your rates, then if it's in a manageable way that we can deal with, then that is ideal. So we were already in the process of negotiating with a third-party farm, only for them to cut it off and then in negotiations with the state. Mind you, it hasn't been taken over by the state, right, as of yet.
Right.
And so the question becomes, if the state is of the same like mind that this company is a good operator or a good potential operator as the city is, then why would you step in and interrupt the city's negotiation? The only difference would be is if you had something in mind for the revenue from the water system.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's absolutely.
Do you know this for a fact, or is this a hunch, or this is what you believe, or what is it?
Well, the tea leaves are there. First of all, the governor has said that privatization is on the table. The company that we were negotiating with firmly tells us that they were now in negotiations with the state. It has been circulating around the state capitol, this intent to do this. And then there's one other piece, right, that I want to lift up, because they've even looked at the solution of potentially regionalizing the system. And the theory there is to say that if you have more customers within your network that you serve, then potentially there's more revenue to help the system. On the surface, that sounds like a good solution. Well, the reality is that they mentioned when Jackson had a higher population or a more significant population, that there was more money to go to these things.
Sure.
That's different than regionalizing, because when people lived in Jackson and they paid to the system, then the revenue, as it does for cities, went towards the services that serve the residents of Jackson, fixing streets, fixing pipes, dealing with drainage and dealing with all of those matters. If you regionalize it, then you don't save any money, nor do you increase money, because you expand the perimeter of towns that now depend on their water as well to fix these and to provide these services. And so now you have a circumstance where you open yourself up for the revenue that Jackson would have used to fix its problems now being siphoned off to support surrounding cities instead of the thing that brought us here in the first place.
Let me just tell people that are listening, we are talking to Mayor Chokwe Lumumba, mayor of Jackson, Mississippi. You've heard the name, perhaps pronounced in a number of different ways, but we are so glad to have you here, sir, and talking about what's going on in your city. To bring it back and tell us where we are in the reparation of the repairing of the system.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I do want to lift up all of the love and support that has come from around the country. And one of those areas of support has been technicians, professionals that cities have loaned to the city of Jackson in order to make a lot of the immediate repairs that need to be made. The governor, for instance, has, when I have estimated this and dealing with the EPA, as potentially, when you not only look at the water treatment facility itself, but the lines of distribution, that this could potentially be $1 billion problem. He has referenced that it hasn't cost that, for the immediate one. There's no mission accomplished banner that we're anywhere near of dropping, because this is only a triage that allows us to at least stabilize water for people. But secondly, one of the reasons we've been able to make savings is because of the loan of these individuals from other states, right? That have allowed us to fix things that otherwise we would have had to contract out at high prices, right? And so they've been able to come, and these states have been so gracious as to loan these professionals while they're still paying for them. I can't tell you how many cities, how many individuals, how many corporations, how many just loving individuals that have sent water donations. We haven't turned anything away, but we've gotten so much water. Had to start looking at the structural integrity of some of the places. Right? But that's not, because this has been such a frequent problem, it enables us to have an immediate response when people don't have water. But that is, such an interruption. We talked about the fact that people can't brush their teeth or consume the water. But think about people, they have to make choices when they're dropping their children off.
To school.
Schools have shut down, right? Schools have shut down because they can't flush toilets, right? And so if your child goes virtual, as we have learned in the midst of a pandemic, parents have to make a decision on how they're going to respond to their work environment.
Right.
And so this harms individuals, it harms families, it harms businesses. And so, that ultimately is more than a threat to Jackson. That's a threat to the state of Mississippi, where Jackson is the economic engine of the state and cannot survive without Jackson's economy.
Go ahead, Sybil. I'm sorry.
No, I just want to know from a federal standpoint, what have you heard from the Biden administration, or I believe it's Michael Regan, who is head of the EPA?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, having spoken with Michael Regan several times now, not only this isn't his first trip to Jackson, knowing of these issues, he made Jackson a part of his Journey to Justice tour, where we had a great introduction at that time. I've gone to Washington and gained an audience with him to talk about these issues. And he has been consistent that they want to be a support to the city of Jackson, outside of, in addition to their regulatory functions, that they want to help find resources to deal with this. I had an extensive conversation with the president and the vice president dealing with this issue, and both assured that the federal government were looking at how they could be a better aid Also recognizing, I'll just say this without going into too much detail, recognizing the relationship between the city and the state.
Mhm.
And we think that they are a critical component to making certain that this functions as it should, because they hold the purse strings. And we have to make certain that everybody at the table is sincere and working for the benefit of the residents of Jackson.
Yeah.
The last thing I need to know, I'm sorry, Jay, but because we have, this has just been has such a profound effect on us. Those of us whose family come from, my family's from Yazoo City, and others, and we want to do something. And you said, you have a lot of water. What can we do to help you, Mayor Chokwe, and the people of Jackson, Mississippi?
Well, in the way of tangible support, one from those cities, we continue to use the benefit of these expertise, whether it's Class A operators, whether it's industrial electrical mechanics that they need at the plant, but also in the way of tangible support, people can send food, right? Understanding that children who have been out of school, often the only meal that they can rely on is the one, or during the day is the one that
Mm-hmm.
they get from school. So that's helpful. There have been efforts to provide showers to people in the midst of this. So the food is probably more appropriately directed at this time, seeing how water pressure has been restored. But this is what I ask of people more than anything: don't let Jackson's story die down, right? Because if they come for us in the daytime, they'll come for you at night. And
Right.
Jackson's not the only place, right?
That's right.
And
Right.
so we need these issues of environmental justice to be lifted up. We need Jackson's story to continue to be front and center, so that we make certain that we're not allowed to be taken advantage of, or any community that resembles Jackson going forward.
Thank you so much,
Oh,
Mayor
man,
Chokwe
yes.
Lumumba. We appreciate your time. We are going to stay on top of this, I promise, and you will hear from us in what we can do. Bringing all the HBCUs together, everything that we can do, I promise we are going to work in partnership with you.
Be
So
on
thank
top
you
of it.
very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
At
much.
HBCUs, I have to shout out Tuskegee University.
There you go.
right.
There you go.
State and Jackson State, right?
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, thank you.
That is the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, Mayor Chokwe Lumumba.
Chokwe. I got it now, Sybil.
Okay.
Mayor Chokwe.
And now you got it.
The man's gone. Now I got it.
Yeah, exactly. So Jay, we have our marching orders, and we know that we still need to stay on this case, keep the word out there, and to let people know. All right. Let us move on to the What You Need to Know newsletter, and we welcome in our newest contributor, Aprylete Russell.
Hey, April.
Hey.
Aprylete will join us each week to discuss the most important issue, our mental health and wellness. And so the first question I got to ask Aprylete is, who are you? Who are your people? Where you come from?
Who am I? Well, I come from St. Louis, Missouri. My name is Aprylete. As you said, I am a journalist, former radio personality. I'm a mental illness and mental health advocate. I am a believer. I am a dog mom. And yeah, that is me in a nutshell.
That's really great. And for folks who may remember you from your past gigs, because we do have a history of going from station to station. You were last in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I was last in Atlanta. So I did news at 11 Alive. And before that, I was in St. Louis at Fox 2 and on radio at Hot 104.1, which is our #1 hip hop and R&B station in the Midwest.
In the Midwest. Oh,
okay.
I hear a challenge, Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So Aprylete, welcome in. We're looking forward to all of the great things that we're going to talk about, and especially in this area of mental wellness. Now, as far as the check-in and check-up section of our current newsletter, tell us about the challenges of opening up discussions and the necessary discussions, especially during Suicide Prevention Awareness Month.
Yeah. So number one, I just want to start with a disclaimer that I am not a licensed professional. I'm a mental illness and mental health advocate. Again, like I said, I'm a believer, and I speak from lived experience and taking care of others through my advocacy work. So I just want to just put that out there.
Mhm.
But so September is dedicated to suicide prevention awareness. And so this actually wraps up Prevention Week, which is September 4th through September 10th. So they dedicated the entire month after seeing that this was something that was well needed, to pretty much just spread awareness about prevention and to give resources, because a lot of people feel that they have nowhere to turn to, they have nowhere to go. And
Mhm.
so this month is especially important for people to just tap in. So I mean, studies have shown in the Black community
Mhm.
that suicide rates have dramatically increased. And
Wow.
that's something different that we haven't seen. And according to NAMI, which is the National Alliance of Mental Illness, the highest rate of death among Black Americans is age 25 through 34, like that area where you're trying to figure it out, where you
Mhm.
may not know where to turn to, what to do.
Struggling.
Your life is,
Struggling. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
and your life is changing. You might want to
Right.
start a family, your career, and things like that. So that's where they're seeing that peak, that increase. And so it's giving a lot of mental health workers kind of like, let's do some research, like
Yeah.
where is the root of this, like what's going on, what can we do? And I think a lot of African Americans that are tapped in, they're trying to feel, what can we do, how can we help?
I have a question, and my question is: are there signs that that a family member or a loved one or a friend can see, and not necessarily say, "Well, I'm going to fix it," but just signs that you might see in someone you care about that might be someone looking toward committing suicide or something like that? Or there's some signs that you could tell people about?
Okay, so I will start by saying that there are signs and sometimes there aren't signs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll use an example of there not being a sign. Just recently, there was circulation on social media that a fitness influencer passed away by suicide. And
Mm-hmm.
when you look at her page, she has thousands and hundreds of followers and very successful from the outside looking in, and maybe not very vocal about her mental health struggles. If you look at former USA, who passed away earlier this year,
Miss USA,
she,
Crystal,
Yeah.
yes,
right?
Right.
Crystal. And so as reports showed, there was really no sign. She seemed that she had things going on, a bright future ahead of her, but deep down she was struggling. So that's with the no signs. So with the signs, there are some people that may have aggressive behavior or
Mm-hmm.
social withdrawal and mood swings and just being more isolated and not really talking to their family members how they normally do, maybe not eating, things like that. But to be honest, sometimes it's not even in a verbal, it's in a physical form. When you see someone like, you're not your normal self. And so when you open up the conversation, that it could be scary to, like, if you
Mm-hmm.
notice someone is acting different, I wouldn't say strange, but acting a little different than their normal, you might be kind of reluctant to ask them what's wrong. But that's where you start with that conversation, like
Right.
opening up that dialogue, like, hey, how are you feeling today? And actually
Mm-hmm.
waiting for a response. If they just say good, okay, actually waiting for a response and kind of dig something deeper out of them. Like, I've noticed that you are X, Y, and Z. How can I help? Do you need company? And just
Right.
something like that can save a life.
Right. Right. Do you notice? Do you know why African Americans are just have this stigmatism that's connected with talking to somebody or getting help? Especially maybe men, or maybe men and women. We just have this thing that I don't need to talk to anybody in terms of I'll just keep it all to myself.
Oh,
Why do
yeah.
you think that is?
It's so taboo. And I mean, to be honest, I don't know why, but I know from growing up, everything was on the hush hush. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
don't you tell our business. Don't go to church and run your
Right.
mouth to the pastor.
Mhm.
Don't
Right.
go to school and, say what's going on in the home. So we
Right.
have been kind of conditioned, and I won't speak for all African Americans, but for most of us, we've been conditioned to hush your mouth. And,
Mhm.
and we've been conditioned to pray about it. And to be
Right.
honest, without my faith, I would say my mental health journey wouldn't be where it is today. Because, like I said, I speak from lived experience, but my faith is so important to me. So it is extremely important to pray about it, but it's also important to do things in the physical, and they may talk to a counselor, get help,
Mm-hmm.
maybe take medication and things like that. But to answer your question again, I believe it's just so taboo because what we're conditioned. And being unable to get those resources. So even if something was going on and you felt like, you know what, I'm not feeling good today, we don't even know where to start.
Right.
We might not even know in the schools that there is a counseling session to go through. When I was in school, I stayed at the counseling office. I stayed with my counselor. To be honest, every time I felt some type of way after a test or somebody did something to me in the hallway, I always went to my counselor because I knew that that resource was available. But so many other children don't know that it's available.
Or
Right.
they don't have it.
They don't have,
Or they don't have it. Yeah,
or the
that is
counselor's
right.
not equipped to handle that particular problem. You know,
Th-
the other
that
thing I
too.
found from terms of, I know some friends who've gone through some things, and one of the things that really changed their life is to get a pet. I'm not a pet lover. I'm not. I don't want a dog. I don't want it.
You have had. They just got him in the
Had,
divorce.
but I have a friend of mine, a real close friend of mine, who was just really thinking suicide and just on the edge of committing suicide. Got a pet, and it totally changed their life. What is it about animals? I don't get it.
As a dog mom, Aprylete, you can speak to this.
Baby, what I would say is Gucci is my baby. He's 10 years old. He's chocolate brown. He's a toy poodle. I wish he
Where
was
is
right
he?
here.
You
I
got
would
him
show
there?
you.
Where is he? Let's see him.
Gucci's upstairs. So Gucci does the most. So for my first time debuting myself, let me get in the steroids, right? But y'all will meet Gucci at some point. So I would say he is a certified emotional support animal. I love him so much, and he's 10 years old, and he's been with me like through this whole entire process. But I will just speak for me. It's the comfort.
Right.
It's even the way they smell, the way that they love you. Like just touching Gucci is very calming. And when you're going through something that's psychological, when
They
you're
know
going
it,
through something, yes, and it's just like you always have a friend. And at the end of the day, like when people say like you're not alone, that right there could just be just enough.
Right.
Your dog, your gator, whatever you want to, whatever's your pet. And I know they do a lot of like pet therapy with horses and things like that.
Right.
So I think that's important too, to grab a pet if you can afford it, because they are expensive.
So Aprylete, let me talk a little bit about the article that you wrote for the What You Need to Know newsletter, and you gave a very startling statistic. You talk about suicide rates have increased dramatically among racial and ethnic minorities and among Black Americans in particular. And you said that the suicide deaths, the highest rate of death is among Black Americans aged 25 to 34. That is disturbing, and it should be disturbing enough for us to make that clarion call for some sort of change. Do you see it happening?
To be honest, I would say yes, because I'm faithful. And the way that we are all using social media and our voice, and we're standing up for each other, and we're just opening the conversation about mental health, I think that that's the start that could possibly save a life. Because at the end of the day, when someone dies by suicide, it's normally because it's an untreated mental health condition. So if we back up a little bit and start the conversation about mental health in general, then we can start getting people help, getting people into therapy. And I think that this generation is more open to talking to somebody, is more open to having conversations about their feelings. And I'm not on TikTok, but I've did some research in TikTok, the hashtag mental health, so many followers, so many people just kind of tuning in and wanting to know more. You have to be very careful, I will say that, about who you're listening to and some of the language and things like that. So you have to be really careful about the information that's out there. But the fact that it's a hashtag, the fact that it's trending and people want to know. So I would say personally, I feel that it can get better, but we all have to do our part. And that's each and every one of us, from the older generation to the younger generation. We all have to do our parts, and it's just opening up that dialogue and starting that conversation. And it could be scary.
Yeah, it can be scary. And I look forward to continuing our conversations about this, not only through this particular month, but on an ongoing basis. I want to give the number that we always do in terms of if you or someone you know is struggling with these thoughts. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255, 800-273-8255.
Wow.
And really quick, I do want to say that you can also dial 988. They just
Right.
launched
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can text it, you can dial it instead of 911. 988 is right there at your fingertips. And I do want to leave you guys, because I am a believer, I just want to leave you with Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. And it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future." And with that, if you are feeling suicidal, just know that you can lay and rest with God. And
Wow.
he knows the plans that he has for you. So I just want to kind of leave with that encouragement, and just to know that you're really not alone.
Amen, Sister Aprylete.
Amen.
That's right.
Let me
That's
that,
church
there you go.
where
There
two
you
or
go.
more gathered. I mean, there goes Sunday.
That's right.
Thank you so much for that.
I do want to encourage people to take a look at the newsletter and not only look at Aprylete's great work, but we also have other stories talking about the possible debates between the two Georgia Senate candidates, as well as every day we have a coronavirus update, and as well our social justice contributor, and that is Coy Malone putting in her story there. So please check out the What You Need to Know newsletter. Go to SybilWilkes.com to sign up. All right. Let's talk trending topics, J. Anthony Brown. And you mentioned that you were on the road in Birmingham, you, Myra J., and George Wallace. I like to call you two queens and no, one queen and her jesters. But you all have really not come up with a name yet, but you had a great.
I had a great name yesterday. Tell me what you think about this. 3 old Negroes. How about that? You like?
As in 3 Negroes, as in the 3 amigos, right? Okay. Or the Migos. It's now 3 Negos. Aprylete's shaking her head going,
you know, like that? Okay.
I don't know.
Next.
Okay, thank you.
I can't tell how many times I've heard that, April, and paid good money for it. But
anyway. Jay, so you say you guys are going to Memphis?
Yeah, we moved the date. It's going to be in November now. So, but definitely we're going to be doing, and we're looking at other cities. Well, George is doing it. So if you guys get a chance to come out and check us out, it's a lot of fun. And what I like about it, we're bringing in an older crowd, people who normally don't go out to see comedy shows, along with the younger crowd. You know, all of us have been on the radio for quite some time. So people who were listening to the radio when they were 9 and 10 or in their 30s.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, say it.
We're talking to one, I believe.
Wow.
Don't get choked up. Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. Come and check us out.
Jay and Aprylete, I also want to talk about, really, this has been a difficult day for many of us in terms of losses and a sad time. The most surprising and really personal time is the loss of our friend, comedian, and writer, David Arnold. David was...
What a shock.
What a shock indeed. David Arnold was a comedian, a TV show creator, a producer of Fuller House, and also created That Girl Lele, and was just completing and putting up his second film for Netflix, his second stand-up comedy. And he died yesterday, Wednesday. His family released a statement saying that we confirm the untimely passing of our husband, father, brother, and friend, David A. Arnold. He passed away peacefully in his home. A doctor has ruled the cause of death due to natural causes, and please keep our family and friends in prayer. And I do want to make note that I knew David, but I never worked with David, but I was always a big fan. Jay, you worked with David.
I worked with him on the Ricky Smiley show, but up until his death, David, and I don't know if this was a part of it, but he had a real hectic schedule. Mm-hmm. He handled all of his press. He was traveling. He was writing for maybe 2 shows. He was teaching classes along with trying to, find those slots in LA to go and do his stand-up and work on his craft. That's a lot. That's a lot. Now he did work out. He worked out a lot.
Yeah.
You know, he was in shape. He was one of the few in shape comedians.
He really was. He was in great
Yeah,
shape.
it's
Yeah.
not a lot of us out there, but he was. And then the next thing you know, at 54, he has a heart attack. So we don't know if it was stress, if it was work related, or just something that maybe he didn't deal with along the way. But truly miss.
Absolutely. He was
Truly
he was
miss.
a great guy who absolutely adored his family, made his family a part of his
A part of
act.
his act.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
wife Julie and his two daughters,
Two
and
daughters, right.
his mother Barbara, who is just a firecracker. Absolutely love her. And also sending our condolences to one of his best friends and fellow Clevelander is Kim Whitley.
Yes,
And
they came to the club and worked out together, and it was sad,
yeah.
very sad, very sad.
So to all of those who loved him, and I'm just going to show you my T-shirt. Wearing in honor of David. I got this one when I saw his last show, and this was during the pandemic, and I masked up and everything, and went to see him at the Arlington Improv in Texas, and just brilliant, positively brilliant. It Ain't for the Weak was the name of that show, and David,
we're gonna miss you, man.
Absolutely. Also want to mention, you guys, the death of a great in the journalism business, and that is Bernie Shaw.
Oh, Bernie Shaw passed away.
He passed away at the face of CNN. He passed away at the age of 82.
Wow.
His family announced that it was pneumonia, but it was unrelated to COVID-19. And he was the man there when CNN launched in 1980. He was the network's first chief anchor and famously anchored the presidential debates and during the Gulf War. Do you remember that, Jay, when he was underneath the desk
he was never able to live that down, man. I mean, but it's what you would do. I
mean, he reported, Aprylete, from live under a desk in Baghdad as the first missile strikes were taking place.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. I'm aging myself. During the Cuban crisis back in the day, we were told to get April, you weren't even around when this was
probably wasn't even thought of it.
We were told to get under your desk. So Bernard Shaw took that into consideration.
And he was quite a man, and what a life. A Chicago native, I gotta put that out there, and also a Marine veteran. And so and he paved the way for so many of us in this business, television, radio, you name it. Absolutely, just one of the best. Absolutely. So we thank you, Bernie Shaw, as his friends call him.
We'll miss you too, definitely.
Absolutely. Do you have any memories, Aprylete, of Bernie Shaw on CNN?
I do not. I wish I did.
Right. Right. We will continue I'm not sure, Yolanda, if we have any questions or anything, but as we are talking about these topics today, and also the big news is
the Queen.
Yeah.
Queen Elizabeth.
Queen Elizabeth. Yeah, absolutely.
That's their queen. Our queen, Aretha Franklin, when she left, that was the only queen I recognized. So I'm sorry. No,
I heard that.
Muriel Slaughter, I'm sorry about your loss and losing your sister. She tells us on Facebook. I'm so very sorry for your loss. Also, not only the Queen, which she was up talking. Well, I don't know if this is what put her in bed, but she was there to meet the new prime minister. Day before yesterday, and there are pictures of her. And the protocol is when you get a new prime minister, you go
and meet the Queen.
Right? Yeah, and you have an audience with the Queen. And so the new prime minister, Liz Truss, went not to the normal spot, but to I believe it was to Scotland, and met with the Queen, and they had a conversation. And then early today, it was, medical. She was under the medical watch.
This is what I don't know, Sybil. Maybe who's in charge now with the Queen gun?
Oh, it's the son, Charles.
Yeah, and that was instant. Like that was instant.
Yeah.
Charles, the one with
with
Lady,
Camilla and Di. Yeah, first
that
Di,
he's
and
in charge now?
yeah, he's in charge.
Isn't he? How old is he?
70.
Yeah. He's up in there too.
He's 70. So he's been
I'm
waiting a
not
long
knocking
time.
70.
But he's been waiting a long time to get this gig.
He's been waiting a while.
And there was always talk that she might, and no, she kept going. And I think when her husband died, when Prince Philip died, things started to fall
Now
off.
that's the last monarch and that they have, because a lot of the countries and stuff where they have the king and queen, they don't have that anymore. Or are there still more left?
I'm sorry, say that again.
I say, is that the last monarch in terms of whether they would have a king or a queen?
No.
They have more.
There are other countries that still have the monarchy, but like this is the Queen Elizabeth at 96 was the longest serving of anyone, and her whole story. I don't know if anybody's ever watched The Crown, but
yes, I've watched The Crown. Right,
I highly recommend it. But as J. Anthony Brown said today, so she did what, and what was her job? But you know,
when you talk to people from London, and we've been there, they hold the Queen as really high esteem. You see the people who are up to events, and it's like if you were ask anybody, an ordinary person, what does the Queen do, and what did she put in terms of that country? I've always looked at the Queen as racist, especially when they ran my girl out of the castle.
Well, certainly they have a colonialist history.
Yes.
And that is something that eventually changed, but she was there when apartheid started in South Africa, in India, the colonialism that was there. And it took a long time to get them into modern day. And yes, with Meghan, this is still a question.
She didn't help. She didn't help at all.
And the question now is, what happens to Prince Harry's title? And will Meghan and their 2 children get the titles as well? And that's up to King Charles.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens there.
I just go back for the hell of it. Just show up.
Well, he did show up, but
he did. But they didn't. I don't think he speaks to the other.
There's that. There's that situation with the family, and apparently he only reached the Queen's residence as they were making the announcement about her death. So he did not make it in time to give his respects before her death. Jay, this is a horrible situation in Memphis. A shooting suspect.
That was yesterday.
Had the city on lockdown. The Memphis police chief, Cyril Davis, said at a press conference, announced that this particular suspect, his name is Ezekiel Kelly, is in custody after shooting 4 people and wounding 3 others during his rampage. He was arrested and allegedly carjacked someone at gunpoint and led police on a high-speed chase that crossed into Mississippi, and they pulled him over and took him into custody. But in the meantime, they shut down Memphis. They asked people to stay inside.
Stay indoors, stay in your house.
Yeah. So we are glad that is over, but so very sorry about the loss of lives and also the people that were injured in this shooting rampage. And just a 19-year-old, once again, talking about young people with a gun,
rifle, right?
With a gun, and so hopefully Memphis.
Do we have time to talk movies?
Yeah.
Real quick.
We have a second.
Okay, I saw The Beast. Great
And
movie. I like to thank the work that George's mom did in the movie as the Beast. She outdid herself. She really outdid herself.
Well, I will.
You lost for words, really? Get out of here.
I am because I thought I don't know what I thought. All right, J. Anthony Brown. That is. Let's move on to real entertainment.
Okay.
And let's talk about this is really interesting, I think. And this is about the power of Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation music video. And this obviously, we're talking what, 30
years ago, right?
Right. Released in 1989, Rhythm Nation peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Has been among her signature hit songs on this album. The music video that accompanied the album earned a Grammy Award for Best Music Video. But earlier this month, there's an engineer for Microsoft who detailed a colleague's discovery that the music video has the power to crash certain models of laptops.
Really?
Several individuals across the internet have confirmed this, and Miss Jackson even reacted via Instagram. It turns out the song contained one of the natural resonant frequencies of a model laptop hard drives that they and other manufacturers used, and it would crash these certain types of laptops.
Is that the video where she said, "Give me a beat"? Is that
Rhythm Nation?
Yeah, okay. Well, she's dressed like a crossing guard or something like that, right?
That's how you remember it.
That's
Aprylete. Are you back with us? Are you a Janet Jackson fan?
I am back, and what are we talking
about? So the Rhythm Nation album, Rhythm Nation 1814, came out in 89. It had the ability to crash. There was a resonant feature of the music that crashed laptops, certain types of laptops. And even radio DJs in Australia tried it, and they had and it crashed their laptops while they were on the air.
The entire system just gone.
Yeah, it just goes down, right?
Certain models of laptops, according to this engineer, whose name is Mr. Chen, and he attributed to the laptops.
Frequency in the video that crashes laptops. Okay.
Yeah,
that's spooky. I say
kind of weird. And how are we now just knowing this?
Yeah, because I'll tell you why, Sybil. Because back when that video came out, people weren't watching it on their laptops. We saw it on television, MTV videos or something like that. People didn't have phones like we have now, and
DJs didn't really use laptops.
Yeah,
right.
Like now, a lot of DJs they call them.
It's a different day.
Yeah. I'm just flummoxed by this. But anyway,
I like that word.
I do. I'm like, oh, what's that?
I'll be flummoxed from now on.
I know you have the word of the day.
I do. I will put that in the big A words. Aprylete, I don't know if you are a movie watcher, but Jay was giving us his review of The Beast.
The Beast, and that is with Idris Elba, correct? Okay, so I am not. I'm so under a rock. I will say I'm gonna get it together. I'm very just in my own little bubble, so I'm not a big movie watcher. However, I did hear about it, so let's hear the review.
Jay,
well, I thought it was great. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a great story. Sybil, you saw it?
I saw The Beast.
Is it action? Is it thriller?
April, this is what we go through all the time. We never agree on hardly any movie.
It's rare. It's rare.
What about Honk for Jesus? Did you see that?
I haven't seen that yet. I'm looking forward to that. I think we can get it online if I'm not mistaken.
Can. Yeah.
Okay.
You can stream it. Okay.
Yeah. The Beast, not the way I wanted to spend my birthday
weekend. What did you not like about The Beast? It had Elvis and it had a beast. I mean, what?
What was the plot? Can it have a little bit more than that?
No, it did, but it just seemed so dumb. It just seemed like a dumb movie.
So pretty much she's saying the writers did not do it.
I'm flummoxed.
I know. What does it take to bring me to a good movie? But I love Idris Elba. I absolutely. I love that it was a Will Packer production. So I'm down with the brothers doing this. The movie just seemed redundant and it.
But you like Nope? Did you like Nope?
No, because I don't like monkeys.
I did see Nope. I saw.
What do you think about Nope?
Interesting. I was very, I was very confused on where we were going with it. But I would say, to be honest, like when it comes to the way that it was shot well. However, the scenes were too long. You know,
Scenes
it's kind
were
of
too
like
long, and I
let's
don't know
get
the
in and get
actor's
out.
name. What is his name? The guy.
Oh,
Daniel,
We
yep.
gotta get him more light. I don't care. He's gotta. You can't see this brother, and I mean, come on,
Because he's
come on.
chocolate.
yeah.
No,
And that's from A Chocolate Man.
I was just gonna say, y'all neck to neck in color now.
and there's a statement you don't hear much.
yeah.
Y'all neck and neck in color. Yes. All right, you guys. Thank you so much, Aprylete. Welcome aboard, J. Anthony Brown. We will see you soon.
Yes.
And I want to close out with our daily inspiration, Yogi's Jewel. When you lose your patience, you lose control.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
When you lose your
Ain't it the
patience,
truth?
you lose control.
Ain't it the truth?
So take those words and use them and keep your cool, everybody.
And don't be flummoxed.
That's right.